Hello everyone, Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. It's Monday and you look amazing and it is so beautiful here in Chicago. Post-eclipse, I believe we had about 92% coverage, and even with only 8% sun coming through, it was so bright still. So very neat to experience that. If you guys are watching the eclipse wherever you're at, or if you watched it, let me know how that went. I'm very curious, and please share pictures. If you want to send me a picture, you can share with me on Instagram, because the ones I took are horrible. So before we get started, I have water because it's quite warm here in Chicago. So regular water. And I want to talk about the Davids. The Davids, I talked about them a long time ago. In fact, a lot of people have talked about the Davids, including 4chan and Reddit and YouTube and basically every single social media site. And I think it is so important we go back to considering the Davids. Somebody sent me a link that they wanted me to scroll through, and I read it, and if this is true, and I don't know, again, we are theorizing, we are speculating. But if this is true, what I'm about to share with you guys, this case just becomes even more concerning. Again, question everything, of course. Now, the last minute streak into the house before anyone was ever arrested, this was right after we had heard about the IDAHO4, allegedly, investigators rushed back into the home to retrieve cigarette butts or a cigarette butt. Now, I don't know about you, but if I were a crime scene investigator, you would think that that's something that would be worth looking into from day one, even if it was a party house. I know people out there are going to say, but it's a party house, you can't test everything. No, you cannot, but you should try to do your best to test everything. And something like a cigarette butt, in my opinion, is so essential to look into. Now, allegedly, investigators went in last minute trying to retrieve these cigarette butts that were allegedly sent in for DNA testing. Now, this link I was sent also says that BK doesn't smoke cigarettes, allegedly, and people have mentioned he may or may not smoke marijuana. I cannot confirm or deny that. But according to this document, Mr. Koberger does not smoke cigarettes. And when I first read that, I'm like, you know who does smoke? David L. Senor Loesch, right? We have all seen the picture of him smoking. And if you have not, I will try to share it in the thumbnail, so you can always take a screenshot and zoom in if you would like. But we know he smokes, right? And allegedly, both Davids refused to give their DNA swab per advice of legal counsel. Again, I was not able to confirm or deny this, but if you were able to, please let me know. So when the investigators rushed in to go get the cigarette butts for testing, media went quiet for like 2 weeks. There was nothing going on, nothing. And then suddenly, boom, we get a name, Bryan Kohberger, plastered all over the news, and it takes over. Bryan Kohberger, incel, creep, doesn't get along with peers, colleagues, females, teachers, students, sisters, has all these addictions and blah, blah, blah. But then we never really heard about the cigarette butts, did we? Are those the sources of the two unknown male DNA? And because 4chan and several social media sites came up and shared with the world and the theory the name of both Davids, David B and David L, well, one should consider the possibility of them being involved directly or indirectly. Why? Because these 4chan posts were extremely descriptive. Whoever put those posts online knew quite a bit about the Davids. They also knew a bit about the entire fraternity and the girls and the IDAHO4 victims. In fact, some of the posts went on to share private, personal information about the parents of the Davids. So was that somebody at the university that knew both Davids? Or one could also speculate that it was LE putting fake undercover accounts out there to catfish, right? To retrieve bits of information. But one must wonder, because again, these posts concerning both of the Davids were extremely detailed. So you do what you want with that information. Now, I want to remind you, the only reason that Mr. Bryan Kohberger was in the sight of LE was due to illegally, yes, obtaining his DNA family tree. And then, of course, it went to the trash before they even got a legitimate swab from Bryan Kohberger. So when Bryan Kohberger was in Idaho, he was out of state. He was from a rival college. And that could mean that choosing him, whether he was involved directly or indirectly or not involved at all, would mean that that would not reflect poorly on the University of Idaho, on the fraternities who, let's be honest, already had a bad reputation from other things I have covered that have happened with other students. And picking Bryan Kohberger or arresting Bryan Kohberger would also mean that it would not reflect poorly on Moscow, right? Because it's a nice outsider. He's from PA. We don't have to worry. So one must wonder if this is the reason that Bryan Kohberger was randomly selected to go in for an interview with Chief Fry after his car was called in. We know that he went in and did this interview and they selected him despite his vehicle not fitting the BOLO description, despite it not fitting expert testimony, and despite it not fitting camera grabs of the actual car. So there is a lot that should raise questions, and that last minute streak into the house to submit cigarette butts into evidence and then we hear nothing about it is also something that should raise questions. Again, we don't know whether he was involved directly, indirectly, or not involved at all, but BK, from what we know, does not smoke cigarettes. DL does smoke. I don't know about DB. Does David B smoke cigarettes? I believe I've seen him. I think there's also a picture of him, right? But you guys let me know. Do you think that these two other Davids could have been involved? Is there a possibility that maybe Mr. Kohberger owned a K-bar and could have traded it or sold it to the Davids? Was there not a picture circulating where both of the Davids were posing with a K-bar? Something to consider. If you take anything away from this video is that I would not sell K-bars or any knives or any weapons or goodies to anybody. Why? Because if it has touch DNA, apparently you may be convicted at a life trial. So that is concerning. Be careful who you sell things to. Be careful who you share your DNA with. I personally would not give my DNA to these companies because we know that LE can obtain things illegally whenever they want to, it seems like. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think? What do you think about the Davids? What do you think about these cigarette butts? What do you think about the K-bar? I want to know. So cheers, guys. And for those of you asking where I was, Friday I went to Minnesota to check my land there. I own some land, few acres, and I went to shoot my weapons for my target practice. You have to make sure you keep up with your skills, and guess what I did? I did really, really good. Yeah, let me know also if you are one who likes weapons and who loves the Second Amendment. Maybe that's just me being super vet, super patriot, whatever. Don't sell your K-bars to anyone. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? And it's funny because I was gonna sell mine, but I'm not going to anymore. If I want to get rid of something, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna burn it. Like, if I want to get rid of anything now, I'm just gonna burn it, because anything can be used against you, even though you did not do anything, guys. Look up the Innocence Project. These amazing lawyers doing this work for free. Okay, they're literally working for free, trying to get innocent people who have been wrongly convicted and incarcerated. That's something that should be applauded. And that's why we are here. That's why me and you are here, right? We're not here to make money. Let's be real. My channel is tiny. I appreciate every single one of you, but it is tiny. So making money is not what we are doing. And we are here to call out the BS, point out inconsistencies, and stand up for our rights. And for when we see people potentially getting taken advantage of, or potentially being blamed, or potentially unalived, as this is a life case, for something they may not have done. So that is it for the day, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I hope to be back here tomorrow. We shall see. And leave a little moon in the comments if you got to see the eclipse, please. Bye-bye.